me personally,
but again,
I don't even see what the issue is. I don't even see
the issue is that that's the collective guilt. But individual white people are saying, I didn't do it, and my ancestors didn't even do it, and you are not your ancestors.
So this clip, we are going to watch Bill Maher dismantle. Bill Maher is going to obliterate Charlamagne and his woke absurdity of begging for reparations, or even Charlamagne's entitlement for reparations. Bill Maher is having none of it. Bill Maher is tired of hearing about this collective guilt that is necessary for white people in America to have, and that they must always beg and say sorry. And Bill Maher is saying he's had enough, and he's going to eviscerate Charlamagne's whole conversation about it. He's going to annihilate Charlamagne's attitude about it. This clip is very much chef's kiss to watch. Without further ado, let's just get right into it.
Speaking of money, they want to study reparations. Study it. Compensate descendants of slaves for unpaid labor by their ancestors. Jen Psaki, the press spokesman, said, we'll see what happens in the legislative process. I'm curious where you are on this issue. I mean, there's a collective guilt that's asking individuals to recompense. I think that's how we would frame that.
Listen, I think reparations has to happen for black people. You know what I mean? Because slavery was America's original sin. And I really don't think no good is going to come to this country until they atone for their original sin, which was slavery. I mean, my ancestors literally built this country for free. So when you see all of this money being thrown around, you know, $27 trillion in national debt, $1.7 trillion for failed F-35 fighter jets.
$500,000 for dogs.
$500,000 for fucking dogs. It's like, if you're black in this country, you have to be like, well, what the hell? What's up with us?
Now, right off the bat, I have to cut off Charlamagne, and I promise to not keep cutting into this conversation. And please don't forget that the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell. Thank you. Right off the bat, to say it like that, if you know, America needs to atone for its original sin. Who are you to say what America's original sin was? What does that even mean? Like, if you want to have a economic-based conversation about this and say, well, there was a lot of free labor, and you know, we need to figure out who benefited from the free labor, and then, you know, those corporations or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, today, maybe they could pay back. Look, this is not my argument, because this is I've been actually told to stay out of this conversation, so I do. But with that said, and not by white people, by black people, but anyway, that's a different story. So anyway, but to come here with that attitude, America needs to atone for its original sin. So, but the 10-year-old white boy needs to atone for what? Like, you cannot talk like that. And to say original sin that America needs to atone for, Charlamagne, are you even Christian? Because you would understand that the sins of the father do not get placed on the son. So why are you talking about original sins? But let's get back to the clip. I just needed to make that point because it immediately enraged me. It kind of just was abrasive to hear him say it like that. Like, Charlamagne is out of pocket.
You know what I mean? So for me personally,
but again,
I don't even see what the issue is.
The issue is that that's the collective guilt. But individual white people are saying, I didn't do it, and my ancestors didn't even do it, and you are not your ancestors. I'm a descendant of those ancestors. I know, but okay.
Hey, listen, when a debt is old, a debt is old. Period.
But you've got a lot of money, so you say you should get more.
Should I get more?
Well, no, you should get a check.
Yes, I'm 97% West African, born in Charleston, South Carolina, so I should definitely get a check. But if it's to the point where, you know what, you make too much money, we don't think you deserve it, cool, give it to somebody who needs it. But to act like black people in this country don't deserve reparations is absolutely nuts to me. Hey, this is what I want. Put it like this, America. Just treat black people like they're F-35 fighter jets. You had $1.7 trillion to throw at that bullshit. Throw it at the people who actually built this country.
But
I don't see how anybody can dispute that.
But again, you didn't build this country.
So what?
You personally did.
So what? I'm a descendant.
But I'm saying we can't write a check to a ghost. You know.
Why not?
Why not? Because, you know,
especially when the ghost's descendants are still
that's a
here.
Okay.
Listen, let me ask you a question. How do you right the wrong of slavery then?
Well, I mean, I think reparations can come in many forms.
Why not? Cash is king.
Frank,
It's America.
No, I agree. I mean, I think reparations do come in many forms. We should be spending much more on the schools that serve black children. We should be spending much more on the infrastructure in predominantly black communities. We should be doing all sorts of things to close the opportunity gap, which is enormous and which we've done a terrible job closing. A debt is owed, and that's one of the ways you repay it.
Simple as that.
The problem I have with the reparations conversation is the questions you were asking a moment ago. It's practically a non-starter. I mean, in terms of practicality. No one's going to agree on the terms. No one's going to agree exactly on the eligibility criteria. Nobody's going to agree on the amount, and it's politically very unpopular. And while we're talking about something that I don't think is passable, and that's why Obama didn't talk about it while
Why
he
is
was
it
in
not
office.
passable, though?
What?
Why is it not passable?
Look at public opinion polls. It's just not going to get done. And that's not about the merits. That's about the appeal out there.
It's definitely not going to get done because, I mean, they were talking about this during the Biden administration, and obviously it did not get done. So I don't even waste time. Like, I mean, like, anyway, I wouldn't get anything because my ancestors don't come from America. And so that's why black people told me, you stay out of the conversation, even though I could give them a much better argument than what Charlamagne is doing right now on Bill Maher's show. Charlamagne just said, since you threw money at F-35s, you should throw money at the people who built this country. That's not the argument. I need a strong military defense system, even though we use it offensively. But I need a strong military defense system, Charlamagne. So that sounds crazy to me, right? And this is why this conversation becomes a non-starter, because everybody gets so indignant and entitled, and they get so, like, they get angry to the point of making nonsensical statements like that. It's actually almost low IQ if you really think about it. Bill Maher is right to say that, you know, yeah, like the white people today, like, what is this? Right the wrongs. Again, there are programs that are out there, and people here, I'll say this, maybe there should be people out there telling people that there are programs that they can get into and, you know, get certifications for certain things, or they can have first-time buyers programs. They have these things, these grants. You want to start a business, you're a black woman, you can actually go get a grant from the Small Business Association and things like that. They have these kind of things in place, right? At least to right the wrongs of this so-called inequality. I'm sorry, I'm not sorry that there is a lot of me, because I've been around these examples of black people who have done what they needed to do and bust their butts where they are not poor and they're not living paycheck to paycheck. They even have investments. Excuse me for having these kind of experiences where I don't think that reparations is necessarily going to fix anything. But again, I've been told this is not my argument. And I mean, Charlamagne could even talk about the fact that, like, I mean, people would just put the money right back into the economy, because let's be real, everybody would go buy Jordans. I'd probably buy a pair of Jordans myself. All right, let's get back into the clip.
And in the meantime, there's so much we can and should be doing that could be called reparations about the debt we owe.
Well, let's change the name. Call it economic equity packages. Whatever it is, as he said, a debt is owed.
You could say Obamacare, which helped black and brown people way more than white people. Obviously, all people can sign up for Obamacare, but that is the practical effect of it, is a form of reparations. You know, I mean, there's a tax that everybody pays. I don't think it's capped. You know, rich people pay more. Those kind of solutions are different. I mean, listen to me what Glenn Lowry says. He says, okay, it frames the moral claims African Americans legitimately have in the wrong way. The idea this debt can be paid is a terrible idea. That's his.
Here's the thing. Once again, it's white people not wanting to be held accountable.
Well, that's a black person.
Well, he's okay. A black person.
Glenn Lowry said that.
Okay, what's his name?
Glenn Lowry. You know Glenn Lowry.
Well, I just think that it's a debt that is owed to black people in America. Simple. And I'll ask the question: if y'all don't think it should be cash, what should it be? If y'all don't think it should be, if there should be any reparations to black people, what should it be?
All right. So
no, I want to know: do you think that black people should get reparations?
I think it should be more like what Frank and I are saying, different, not a check. No, I think it should be done more by class. I mean, 21% of blacks are below the poverty line. So that means we're giving checks to 80% of people who are not in poverty. Shouldn't it better be done that if we're going to pass out money? That's like what I was starting the show with. If we're going to pass out money, let's pass it out
start with the poor and disenfranchised.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, and
100%.
is a one-time check going to change a life as much as a real investment in education? As much as a real investment in young people's social programs?
But they have that, though. They do have that. I mean, this is the whole point of Lyndon B. Johnson, who, by the way, I'm not really, it's crazy. I do think that government has a responsibility, obviously, to its citizens. The country has a responsibility to its citizens. I mean, if I pay taxes, I'd love for the money to go back to the citizens of the United States of America, right? Instead of, other places. But coming back to it, though, there are so many programs. There were programs, There were a lot of programs. Unfortunately, those programs, what happens is when you start to rely on these programs, the family gets broken up. I mean, there's always a ripple effect. It's funny because you don't hear much about this conversation anymore, about reparations. I don't really hear as much about this conversation, but if you bring it up to people, they go absolutely unhinged about it and never make a good argument for it. They just never do. They never do. Charlamagne is over there saying a bunch of nothing. And Bill Maher is giving him a good rebuttal. Shout out to Bill Maher. He's really not taking this, lying down, if you will.
I mean, I think a debt is owed, and I have no problem paying it in cash. I'm just talking about where the money goes to help the most number of people the quickest.
Yeah, I think it should be all of that simply because there is really no price point that you could put on reparations for slavery. Like none. Like there's no number you can put on what my ancestors went through in this country.
Well, I can't tell a person how to feel. I'll leave it at that. I mean, the fact is, again, this conversation, though, if you're going to have it, you have to remove your emotions out of it because people start to sound really silly. And Bill Maher, definitely, like I said, he did give some pretty good pushback to Charlamagne. And I think to be honest, I think Bill Maher's handled it better than I've seen a lot of white people handle it. So shout out to Bill Maher for that. I'll see you guys at the next one. Bye.